Okay, now I'm going to glue the turn-ins, the book paper around the book board. I've got my corners with a miter. I'll show you how to deal with that. And I cut some end papers to go on the inside because the book board, you don't want to reveal that. And then the end will glue the book in. So I tend to start with the head and the tail. It doesn't matter, but that's just the way I've always done it. So always glue with the glue brush going out so you don't get glue underneath. It's always a little scary dealing with glue. Never quite gotten over that. Because there's always the possibility glue could get somewhere where you don't want it. I tend to pick up my whole book and then put pressure on it in order to make that nice 90-degree curve. And I'm going to fold this over. This is reusable newsprint. And then I squeeze the paste paper. Grab my cloth, get my fingers. And remember, you don't have that much time. So whether you use your fingers, your bone folder, or a combination, you only have a little bit of time. The hinges are important not to have an air gap. So I pretty much immediately start working the book paper, the cover paper into that gap. And again, it stretches a little bit. So that's helpful. I can just get rid of that glue and take it off with my fingers. So I want as much contact in that area as possible. It might not go 100% into that gap, but you want it to be as much as possible. So it's a lovely hinge. And you be a little patient with the paper, because the paper is accepting moisture, which allows it to stretch. So to miter the edges, the corners, you push down. Imagine making a nice hospital corner with a bed sheet, so that the paper goes down that ledge, and then when you glue the next one, you're not going to get any kind of wrinkling right there. Same with this one. Just push that down. Okay, now I'll do the other long side. I tend to reuse my newsprint like this, fold it up. If that doesn't work for you or is too scary, then you just refresh it with a new piece of scrap paper from your recycle, newsprint, whatever. And I'll tend to also move my book up and away from any glue that's on the table. Okay. Other people will take their bone folder and press on the book like this. I have a habit of picking up the whole book and pressuring it on the table. There's about 5 ways to do just about everything. And now, grab my damp rag. Work with my hinges. Paying attention to the fact the other hinge is continuing to dry. You can mix your glue with a little bit of a retardant like methyl cellulose or rice glue, rice paste glue. Around here where it's damp, it's not that big of a deal. Sometimes I have my students do that. Sometimes I do that for myself, depending on what project I'm working on and how quickly I'm okay with having the glue dry. Okay, so those are 2 decent hinges, I think. And now I'll do the short edges. Always pay attention to where that wet glue is so you don't put something nice in it. This can go away. You're gonna find with your mitered corners that they're a little sharp to the touch, just because the 2 pieces of paper have come together right there. So you can take your bone folder, and since the whole thing is slightly damp, kind of just hit it, which takes away that that sharpness, and it's a nice touch. I'll make sure it's all pushed down. Okay, my end sheets are the height of the book, and the book is flush to the hinges, and it has a reveal of an 1/8 inch top and bottom. If it was a 100% flush, that would be hard to work with, because that would mean you have to be perfect, and I don't like working that way. I never work that way. So here's my 2 end sheets, and they're also cut with an 1/8 of an inch reveal on 3 sides. So I'll need to glue those down and then work them into the hinge. They don't have to go into the middle of the book, because that'll be covered by the book. I'm going to grab a phone book page, which is a little bit smaller. I cut this, it's 5.5 tall, and I made sure not to make it 5.5 square, because I wanted to have the paper grain to be that direction, and so I made it 6, so I didn't have to be perfect about it, because I'd make a mistake if that was going to be possible to make a mistake. I try to treat myself like an idiot a bit in my studio to make my work time easier. Okay, I did get a little glue here, so I'm going to take my damp rag. Push it away. And working from the edge in, I'll work my bone folder into that hinge without breaking the paper. Gotta make sure that the hinge is pretty nice. Any scrap paper, I just throw it on the floor. It's quite satisfying. And it also just very quickly gets it out of your way because, again, you don't have a whole lot of time and you need to keep the glue where it's supposed to go. Keep it off your fingers. It's a little spooky. But if you don't have a piece of paper with errant glue on it, there's a little bit. Shoot. It's pretty forgiving paper though. Working that paper into the hinge really well. All right, looking pretty good. So now I can glue my cover label on. I'll glue the book in. I don't know what I'm going to do when there's no more phone books. And I'm going to put glue on the book. I'm going to make sure not to get the glue over the edge. So I'm just going to come up to the edge. And even if you're off, you know, away from the edge just a hair, it's going to be fine. Always glue from the middle out. Make sure it's the proper orientation. It's positioned to be flush to the edges of the spines, but then have a reveal, 1/8 of an inch reveal on the top. I'm going to open up the tunnel book and press on the back page. Put a slip sheet in there in case my hands create a smudge. So again, you want to keep kind of working at the paper until, you know, kind of soaks up the glue and is positioned properly and it's not going to create bubbles. So, got decent hinges that meet in the middle. That works out pretty well. I think it needs one more thing. Got this one more piece I'm going to add to it. This is a little bit of a special book. It's for my good friend Jody, who is in Portland and not having a birthday party with all of her friends. So when we can hang out again, I'll come up and see you and Bob and little Beverly. But I hope you have a really wonderful birthday. We'll do the full-on reveal here. At the front and the tunnel book. Yay! All right. Happy birthday, Jody.